Stop what you are doing. Listen closely. What I am about to tell you happened at a wedding. In front of 300 people, and nobody said a single word. There were 7 bridesmaids. All wearing beautiful, elegant, floor-length lavender gowns. And then there was me. I was the maid of honor. I spent 11 months planning every single detail of this wedding, the venue, the caterers, the seating charts. I even flew to Chicago just for a cake tasting, but on the morning of the wedding, my sister handed me my dress. Not lavender, not cream, not blush. Construction cone orange. Standing in that hotel room, I knew it wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated message. One my sister had been planning for 6 weeks. I know this because I found the text. But here is the part nobody saw coming. Not my sister. Not my mother, not a single guest. An 83-year-old woman sitting in the front row had been watching everything. Quietly, carefully. At exactly 8:15 p.m. she walked across the reception hall. She took my hand, and she whispered 6 words that changed my life forever. 6 words. That is all it took. Stay with me. By the end of the story, you will never look at a bridesmaid dress the same way again. You will understand what happens when someone tries to make you invisible, and the universe decides it is time for you to be seen. This is Vivian's story, and it starts with an orange dress. My name is Vivian. I am 31 years old. My sister Natalie is 34. Growing up, we were never particularly close, not enemies, not strangers, just 2 people who happened to share a house and parents and a last name. Natalie was the beautiful one. That was the family's word. Not mine. Beautiful. Said with a particular emphasis that implied it was the most important thing a person could be. I was the responsible one. Also the family's word. Responsible. The kind that means useful, reliable, available. The kind that means we know you'll handle it. I have a graduate degree in environmental law. I work for a non-profit organization. I have traveled to 14 countries. None of this was ever described as beautiful by my family. It was described as impressive, which sounds like a compliment, until you realize it is always said, with a slight note of surprise. When Natalie asked me to be her maid of honor, I said yes without hesitation, because she was my sister, and because some part of me believed this might be the thing that finally changed us. Serukin Namaza. I should have known better. But hope is a persistent thing, especially between sisters. Let me tell you what being Natalie's maid of honor actually looked like. Month 1, I researched 47 wedding venues, created a detailed spreadsheet. Natalie reviewed it for 11 minutes, chose the most expensive option, asked me to handle the contract. Month 2, I coordinated tastings with 6 caterers, attended 4 of them in person, flew to Chicago for 1, Natalie attended 2, was 40 minutes late to both. This continued for 11 months, every decision outsourced to me, every execution expected from me, every credit claimed by her. 3 weeks before the wedding, Natalie called about the bridesmaid dresses. All 7 bridesmaids had been fitted for lavender gowns, floor length, elegant, beautifully cut. I had helped select them. There was a mix-up with the order, Natalie said. Her voice had a particular quality I had learned to recognize over 31 years, careful, rehearsed. She sent me a photograph. The dress was orange, not a warm amber orange, construction cone orange, with a neckline that sat 3 inches higher, a silhouette cut completely differently, a shade that clashed violently with my complexion. It was the only one left in your size, she said. I'm so sorry, there's nothing we can do at this point. My first instinct was to believe her, because she was my sister. I said it was fine. I hung up, and I cried in my car for 20 minutes. Then I drove to the bridal boutique, and I asked the woman at the counter about the order. She pulled up the file. There had been no mix-up. The orange dress had been ordered, specifically, in my size, 6 weeks earlier, by Natalie. I sat in that parking lot for a long time. Then I made a decision. I would wear the dress. I would walk down the aisle. I would stand beside my sister on her wedding day. and I would watch, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let people show you exactly who they are, and then remember it. The wedding was held at a vineyard in Sonoma Valley. Beautiful location, 300 guests, ceremony under oak trees with late afternoon light. I wore the orange dress, I held my wilting carnation bouquet, and walked down the aisle with my head up. I smiled. I did my job. I gave the toast I had spent 3 weeks writing, made people laugh, made people cry, raised my glass to my sister and her husband with sincerity, because whatever Natalie had done to me, Christopher deserved a real wedding day. During the reception, I stayed at the edge of things, helping where I was needed, being responsible, being useful, being invisible. At some point during the cocktail hour, I felt a hand on my arm. I turned around. Standing beside me was a small woman, 83 years old, white hair pinned carefully, a pale blue dress, eyes that were sharp in the way that decades of paying attention makes eyes sharp. She introduced herself as Iris Aldrin, Christopher's grandmother. "I've been watching you today," she said, "since this morning." Iris looked at my dress for a moment, then at the 7 lavender bridesmaids, arranged beautifully for photographs, then back at me. "That dress," she said carefully, "was not a mistake." Silence. "No," I said finally, "it wasn't." Iris nodded once, like she had confirmed something she already knew. Then she took my hand and said 6 words. "Come see me on Monday, dear." I almost didn't go. I spent the entire weekend talking myself out of it. I went anyway. Iris lived in a townhouse in San Francisco, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a kitchen that smelled like cardamom, photographs covering an entire wall, decades of a life lived in full. She made tea without asking, set 2 cups on the table, and got directly to the point. "I have been watching your family for 2 years," she said. "I have watched you do everything for this wedding, and I have watched your family take credit for everything you did." She paused. "I have also spoken with Christopher, at length." Christopher had noticed the dress situation, had asked Natalie privately. Natalie said it was a boutique error. He had not believed her. Then Iris slid an envelope across the table. "Open it," she said. Inside was a letter. On formal letterhead. From the Aldrin Family Foundation, a private philanthropic organization Iris had established in 1987. The letter was an offer, a position on the foundation's Environmental Advisory Board, a paid consulting role, a 2-year contract with a compensation figure. That made me read the number 3 times. "Why?" I asked, not ungratefully, genuinely. "Why me? Why this? Why now?" Iris set down her teacup, because I have spent 83 years watching capable people be made invisible by people who are merely loud. She held my gaze steadily, and I am at the age where I have decided to stop watching. I signed the contract 3 days later. Part 6, the text thread, minute. 6 weeks after the wedding, Natalie called me. She wanted a post-wedding sister lunch. I agreed. During lunch, I received a voicemail from Natalie's former college roommate. She had accidentally been added to a text thread between Natalie and our mother from 11 months ago. Planning the orange dress. My mother suggesting the dress as a way to manage what she called Vivian's tendency to overshadow. Natalie agreeing. Discussing the carnations. Discussing the seating arrangement designed to keep me as far from the main table as possible. 11 months of planning. Not the wedding. Me. I walked back to the table, sat down, picked up my fork, and finished my lunch. I did not say a single word, because I had already signed the contract, and some answers are better given with your life than with your words. Before we close today, there is only one real lesson in Vivian's story, and it has nothing to do with weddings, nothing to do with money, nothing to do with family politics, and not even the orange dress itself. The lesson is this: The people who try hardest to make you feel invisible are often standing directly in front of the people who are finally about to see your value. Natalie believed humiliation would shrink Vivian. She believed embarrassment would keep her quiet, keep her forgettable, keep her exactly where the family expected her to stay. Small, grateful, easy to overlook. But life has a strange way of working, because the very moment meant to humiliate Vivian became the moment that changed everything. If Natalie had chosen another dress, Iris may never have noticed her. If Vivian had refused to attend the wedding, their paths may never have crossed. If Vivian had exploded emotionally, she might have looked exactly the way Natalie wanted her to look, broken, unstable, defeated. But instead, Vivian stayed composed. She carried herself with dignity, and the one person in that entire room who truly mattered saw everything. Not just the dress, not just the cruelty, but Vivian herself. Her intelligence, her restraint, her grace under pressure, her quiet strength. And that is what changed her life. Not revenge, not confrontation, recognition. Years later, Vivian would say something that shocked everyone who heard it. She said, "The orange dress was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not because the humiliation was good, not because the pain was deserved, but because sometimes the worst moment of your life places you directly in the path of the people who were meant to find you." Today, Vivian is happy, truly happy, not the kind of happiness people perform online. Real happiness, the peaceful kind, the kind that comes when you stop chasing acceptance from people determined not to give it. She no longer attends family dinners trying to earn approval. She no longer shrinks herself to protect other people's egos. She no longer questions her worth every time someone treats her poorly. Because now she understands something she didn't understand that night at the wedding. Being underestimated can become an advantage. People reveal themselves completely when they think you are powerless. And sometimes, while they are busy trying to make you feel smaller, someone else is quietly realizing how extraordinary you are. So if life has handed you an orange dress recently, wear it anyway. Walk into the room anyway. Hold your head up anyway. Because you never know who is watching. You never know which moment will quietly change your future. And you never know when the thing meant to embarrass you will become the beginning of the best chapter of your life. Leave a comment below. Have you ever experienced your own orange dress moment? And did it eventually lead you somewhere better? Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And subscribe to The Quiet Verdict for more stories about quiet strength, hidden justice, and the moments that change everything when nobody expects them. Take care of yourself, and never let anyone make you believe you are invisible. This was The Quiet Verdict. A few months after the wedding, Vivian received a handwritten letter. It was from Iris, the woman who had noticed the orange dress. The letter said, "You handled yourself with more dignity that night than most people manage in a lifetime, and at the bottom, if you are ever ready for a different life, call me." A week later, Vivian did. That phone call changed everything. For the first time in years, someone listened to her like her thoughts actually mattered. Not as someone's daughter, not as the responsible one, but as Vivian. A few months later, she moved to Boston to work with Iris. New city, new people, new life. And slowly, Vivian became someone who no longer apologized for taking up space. Years later, while cleaning her apartment, she found the orange dress folded inside an old box. She stared at it for a long moment, then smiled. Because now, she no longer saw humiliation. She saw the beginning of the life that finally found her. And maybe that is the strangest thing about painful moments. Sometimes the thing meant to break you quietly becomes the thing that saves you. Maybe the orange dress was never the end of Vivian's story. Maybe it was the beginning. And somewhere tonight, someone else is standing in their own orange dress, not realizing yet that the worst night of their life may quietly become the moment everything finally starts. This was The Quiet Verdict.